Hey there, Goa fans. This is Mark DJ Solitaire here with episode 110 of Retro Goa Explorations, my weekly series in which I share in every episode one of my favorite tracks from the 1990s Goa Trance psychedelic dance movement. We are well on our way to through our exploration of tracks from the 97 to 98 season. So tracks that I first came across or that were released in from the autumn of 97 through to the end of the summer of 98. So this covers my last 4 or 5 months in the UK and a transition in Canada to Japan. And it was an amazing time. Definitely lots of new music coming out, fantastic projects that we hadn't heard, evolution of new styles, and of course, some of our familiar favorite artists. And so the one I'm going to feature today, of course, is one of our all-time favorites, really one of the godfathers of this musical scene and with its sound, its many styles. And, this fellow came from, a clubbier background and became one of the leading proponents of really a broader range of styles than he is generally, I think, recognized for. Because generally his music is really uplifting, anthemic, broad melodies, very catchy riffs, really arms in the air. I mean, just a huge favorite. And I'm talking about Man with No Name, who does have a name, Martin Freeland. Really phenomenal musician and a very nice guy. But the track I'm going to play today has been somewhat snuck by for a couple of reasons. And this really shows what I think is a different side. Now, I did already feature Tarantula, which I got about a year before it was released, sort of sometime in the middle chunk of 1997, in a DAT trade with Crispo from Medicine Drum, Return to the Source. Absolutely stellar. I mean, really completely mind bending and deceptively, has this catchy phrases and really upbeat and then completely mind bending and super psychedelic and twisted. Well, this track is another in the same thing. And it kind of went underground or a little bit less noticed, even by collectors, because it was only released on the Japanese version of his album. So the one that featured Tarantula. So Earth Moving the Sun, this version was released in Japan in January 98, but the regular version only came out in July 98. And if you compare the track listings, you can see that the contents are fairly different. And if you look at number 2 of the Japanese version, there's a track called Mainframe, which was not otherwise released. And buckle your seatbelts and whatever it is you need to do to strap in your crown chakra, because this one is completely, utterly mind bending. It's been one of my all-time favorites. It's got, like Tarantula, really, a happy-go-lucky kind of feeling with the bounce and with some of the beautiful, catchy riffs. And then there's these voices that are just completely, um, I mean, they just bend. The voices bend, and then your mind starts bending, and it's wild. I played this one at Uppsala in Hungary in 2023. And a lot of people coming up to me afterwards and writing to me afterwards saying, what was that? What was that secret Man with No Name track? It's like, well, I didn't realize it was such a secret. Folks were really having it. So, not much more to say about this, really. I think it's just time for us to listen to it. And of course, I'll have things to say while we listen and afterwards. But absolutely phenomenal track by Martin Freeland, Man with No Name, Mainframe. Right, so already these pitch bendy sounds, and it sound like voices. All right, so this kind of moaning, very cool sound, that one as well. It comes in there as well. So again, it's like this dialogue between all these different parts. And then very simple one-note bass line. Man with No Name, just absolutely brilliant for those one-note bass lines that just really hit. And then the kick's gonna come in. Notice again, it's, some of these sounds you're gonna hear in clubby music, but this is not your average club track. This is mind-bending. Incredible engineering, always, with Man with No Name stuff, right? Just listen to that. Upper frequency hi-hat. Hand claps. And then, that uplifting nature that comes from that upward momentum with the riffs. Right, so super groovy and catchy and very danceable. Again, this is just, super cheery and up. And again, there's that movement heading up with these riffs. And it gets doubled for that other voice. And going through some phasing then. Just add some texture, right, to double that note. Just really simple one-note utterance. And we seem to have those voices interacting. What? So simple, but really powerful. Again, it's just like this alien voice off in the distance. And then we get that melting come in just a little bit, seductively. And beautiful break, super uplifting riff. This is a real old school. It sounds like, again, we're in kind of 94 land here. And notice the stability of that and the layering. This is going to take you somewhere else. Starts ramping up. The way the hi-hats went and then a voice came in lower down. Starting to tweak and then listen for the release. The answer. So sneaky, really sensual. Then just just the way all of these voices cross over one another and so beautifully layered, build up. I love also there's this kind of staccato, right, separated articulation of the notes where there's space between the notes. And another cool little break coming up. Again, beautiful, simple, it's uplifting. Just with all of this, I mean, it really hits you deep. And I always love in the storytelling how these old voices come back in a new context. And the way that one now continues. So triumphant, isn't it? And it just starts fading out. I mean, this moany, whiny voice, I mean, just fading off into the distance as the DJ mixes in the next track. I mean, what a monster track. So the two tracks I'd had before that was On the World and Tarantula. So I was prepared for something big is coming. And then this hits. And, there's a variety of tracks, right? On the World is a more anthemic, melodic, sort of, old school style one. And there's different, a whole range of different tracks in here. For me, it's those three, a Tarantula, Feel Over the World, and Mainframe that are the real clinchers. As always, I always need to go back and revisit things because you hear things with different ears all the time. But as I was saying, I think Man with No Name, I mean, look, his reputation is absolutely secure. Everybody loves him. But I think it's very easy to get pigeonholed in any scene. And I think the fact that he created such incredible, uplifting, anthemic music, some people are going to say, well, it doesn't hit as deep. Right? Now, you can really overdo the depth sometimes when you forget that maybe we're supposed to be having a good time while we're dancing and not just always going deep and deep. And this is where I think, the scene has gotten darker and darker and darker because, darkness can be magnetic, but so can light. And he dances the line so beautifully with this one. And he was always capable of that, and he always did. So, there's all these different moods and phases to the journey as you go through this wave of, of the musical, exploration with a journey, ideally through a party and through the, whatever journey one is on. And this, for me, just hits because it's so, it has those elements that we could recognize again from a club setting. And then, the aliens come in and just say, not so fast, and just really blast you. And at a slightly slower pace. If memory serves correctly, it's 138 BPM. So, not as fast as the music generally is now. Let me tell you, people go wild for this one. It's, I don't want to say secret weapon, but apparently, it's one of my tracks that I'll pull out occasionally. Not everybody's heard this because it's been relatively obscure. Now, maybe more people will. Justly deserved, an absolute masterpiece by the man, Martin Freeland, Man with No Name. So that's it for episode 110. I will sign off and let you hear the whole gorgeous, mind-bending production on its own. I'm Mark, DJ Solitaire, wrapping up episode 110 of Retro Goa Explorations. I'm leaving you now with Man with No Name's utterly cosmic Mainframe.